Today I'm going to show you how I sharpen my scrapers. I work with straight scrapers but also curved ones quite often. And I found this to be a really effective way to sharpen both of those. It doesn't joint a straight scraper to make it nice and straight edged, but it really does work to sharpen. So one of the things I like about this technique is that at any stage of the process you're going to find that you can actually get results. It's just the question is, how fine a result are you looking for? But what this will do is absolutely get the tool cutting. I start out with this little sled here that you see, and this little sled just rides right on my scraper like this. So even if it's curved, it rides on it, or if it's straight, it does. And what I do is I take a fine file and I pinch it in the sled like this, and then I draw it along very lightly. One of the keys is to use very light pressure. Now when you first start, if this has been burnished before, you're going to find that the metal is probably a little bit hardened, almost like crust on bread. And you got to get through that before you really start to feel and hear it cutting in these nice, even cuts. And you need to go all the way until you've actually reached a truly square edge on here where it's cutting all the way down to the flat surface. So if there's any rounding over it, you got to get past that. You're just not going to have good results otherwise. And once I've done that, what I find is that I've actually got an edge that can cut, and cut by making shavings and not dust. So when I put this to the wood, I can actually do lots of carving with this and get lots of results that I'm going to be happy with. You see, I've got shavings climbing up there. Okay. The problem is at this point the surface is quite coarse that it's leaving behind because the file is a pretty coarse cutter. So I need to go back over here if I want this to be finer. And I'm going to substitute the file for a little diamond hone. Now with diamonds, I use oil to lubricate them. And again, I use very, very light pressure. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm just going to go back and forth letting the diamond do its work. Pressure does not make a diamond cut better. It just dislodges them. The key here is just to use light pressure and lots of motion. Think more like a bandsaw, the way it cuts, by having many, many teeth pass by the point of contact. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I feel like I've really got that edge polished up to where I want it. And you see I can just go around any curves I have. That's no problem. Don't even think about it. Okay? Then I'm going to take it out of here and move over to the bench, where I'm going to set it down flat and run it with the diamond flat on here, being very careful not to round that edge over. Okay? This is just removing that burr, or pushing it straight up, and hopefully getting me a finer edge than the file did at this top bit. Now I put it back in here, and I just take a few more strokes like this. And now, again, it's going to be ready to cut. Okay, so I removed the coarse burr that was put on there by the file, but now I've got a finer one that's put on by the diamond. Okay, this side's going to show that off better, I think. There it goes. And you can even hear the difference. It gives a nice light, high-pitched sound. It's very important when it comes to cutting with this tool that you don't tilt too far forward. I always try and just work with it perfectly vertical to the surface and tilt forward until it just grabs. And that is as far forward as I go when I'm doing my work. So you can see I'm getting nice results now, and I'm getting a better surface. Now I'll get even better results if I actually roll a burr on there. Now, the word or term rolling a burr, I think, is a little bit of a misnomer in that it encourages you to put a lot of pressure and a lot of angle to it. I don't do that. What I like to do is I just push down dead flat on here like this, careful not to roll it at all, and dead flat on the other side here. Okay? And now, I don't even have to put it back in there. I use such light pressure. What I'm going to do is I'm basically going to work so that I fail at being at 90 degrees in one direction and then the other. It also helps if you feed the tool forward a little bit as you do that. So you see I did that a couple of times. I flip it around, and a couple times more. Basically, I want a very, very fine burr on here. Now, you can hear the difference and see the difference, hopefully, in the surface quality and the quality of the shavings I'm pulling. They're not very crumbly because they're leaving a very smooth surface and giving me exactly what I want. Now, pine is not notorious for scraping well, but it's actually one of my favorite woods to scrape, and I end up doing all my fairing and shaping with this tool once I've come through with the Travisher and the other tools. One of my favorite times of using a scraper is actually when I revamp the first burr after it gets dull and do a second. The reason for that is because the second burr is similarly sharp because the metal's still soft enough to deform, but it's hard enough to last a long, long time, and it just seems like this second turn of a burr really gives me a long-lasting, sharp as can be burr that I love working with. And that's how I sharpen a scraper.